Y'all remember when Gucci Mane said this?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Listen, I wanted to make this announcement on 10/17 yesterday, but I just seen like my statement, my P&L with all my artists. You know, it's almost like a whole bunch of shake-up and it's a whole on the industry right now. But when I look at my P&L and me being a businessman, I think that I'm gonna have to release almost all my artists except for Foogiano and Foogiano. This is a decision I didn't want to make. I thought about it, you know what I'm saying? I could keep all of them under the contract. But I said, hey, let's just make the unselfish decision and, let them take their talents elsewhere. So
Foogiano just walked out of prison after 5 years. No Gucci Mane at the door, no Rolls Royce waiting, no rollout, no announcement from the label, just a photo on a producer's Instagram story with a caption, "No more free Foo," and that's it. That's the whole welcome home from the man who said Foogiano was one of the only 2 artists worth keeping in 2017. And now that Foo is free, word is already spreading through blogs that he is not rocking with Gucci Mane. Said Gucci didn't send him $1 the entire time he was locked up. And fam, this ain't just tea, this is the full story of how 1017 became the most cursed zip code in Atlanta rap, how Gucci Mane's legacy is taking a hit in real time, and why Foogiano coming home right now might be the most dangerous thing that's happened to that label since Pooh Shiesty allegedly put a Draco to Gucci's face and forced him to sign contract release papers at gunpoint. Yeah, we going all the way today. Y'all need to hear this. To understand why Foogiano's homecoming is hitting different, we gotta go back and understand what this man actually represented to 1017 Records before everything went sideways. Foogiano, born Kwame Khalil Brown, is from Augusta, Georgia. He ain't from Atlanta, but he got that Atlanta DNA in his sound. No cap. His whole vibe was club-ready street music, energy, hooks, the kind of music that plays in the trap and the club on the same Friday night. He was putting out tapes independently for years before Gucci noticed him, and when Gucci signed him to 1017 in 2020 and got him distributed through Atlantic Records, it looked like the beginning of something real. He had just released his debut album Gutta Baby via 1017 and Atlantic, and prior to that he had a whole series of mixtapes and appearances on 1017 compilation albums building his foundation. He was 27 years old, just getting started. The cosign from Gucci meant everything at that point. Gucci Mane don't just sign anybody. The man has an ear for talent that goes back decades. But here is where the story starts breaking down. Almost immediately after signing, Foo's situation went left. In 2021, Foogiano was arrested in Memphis. He was charged with being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm and released on a $50,000 bond. But then he allegedly removed his ankle monitor and went on the run for 3 months before police caught him. 3 months on the run, gang. That tells you his mindset at that time. He was not thinking about the career or the label deal or any of that. He was moving on street instinct, and it cost him everything. That move led to a 5-year sentence with no bond. Just like that, one of the 2 most promising artists on the new 1017 roster was gone, locked up before he could even get the sophomore album out. And where was Gucci Mane during all of this? That's the question people weren't asking loud enough back then, but they asking it now. Here's what y'all gotta understand before we get into the current drama. When Gucci rebranded the label as the new 1017 in 2020, it looked like a genuine comeback story. The new roster brought in Pooh Shiesty, Big Scar, Foogiano, Hot Boy West, K. Shade, Hoodrich Pablo Juan, and Roboy. That's a deep roster. That's a whole movement right there on paper. Gucci was supposed to be the OG playing chess, building the next generation of Atlanta rap royalty, but what happened over the next 4 years was genuinely tragic. Not dramatic for content, actually tragic. Enchanting passed away in December 2022, and Big Scar died in June 2024, both from drug overdoses. 2 artists gone forever. Then you had Hot Boy West sentenced to 15 years in prison for 10 counts across 6 indictments, including violent acts against his children's mothers and endangering children. Matt Critter was arrested for first-degree murder. Pooh Shiesty locked up on a federal firearms conspiracy charge in 2022. Foogiano already gone. The roster that was supposed to change the game was being taken apart piece by piece, spoiled by death, by the streets, by federal indictments. By the time Gucci sat down and looked at his profit and loss statement in October of 2024, there was barely anything left standing. And what did he do? He went on Instagram in his car and made an announcement that said everything without saying everything. This is the clip y'all just heard. October 18th, 2024. Gucci Mane behind the wheel, P&L statement fresh in his memory. He drops the whole roster, Big Walk Dog, Bicey Fizzle, Bresden, Kato 2X, Lee Rye, Lil Zay, FTO Set, TLE Cinco. All of them cut loose, all of them free. This is a decision I didn't want to make, Gucci explained. I could keep all of them under contract, but I said, forget it. Now let me break this down for you because the way he said it matters as much as what he said. First, he said he looked at the P&L. That means the numbers were not adding up. Translation: these artists were not generating enough revenue to justify the investment. In the music industry, a label advances you money, markets you, pays for features, pays for videos, pays for rollouts, and then you have to recoup all of that from your streams and your sales before you see a check. If your numbers aren't moving, you are a liability on that balance sheet, not an asset. Gucci looked at his books and saw liabilities, not assets, and he cut them. But here's the part that gets overlooked. Gucci also said he had already reached out to the artists and their lawyers ahead of the announcement, letting them know before he went public. Now, some people took that as him being professional and respectful, but the streets took it different. Because if you was really rolling with your artists, if you was really their big homie, you wouldn't be making that announcement on Instagram before you even seen them face to face. You'd call, you'd meet, you'd build a plan together. The Instagram announcement told everybody all they needed to know about what 1017 really was, a business, not a family. And the artists felt that. Former 1017 artist Lil J went live and said this was exactly what he wanted, that he'd been talking about it for days. He was happy to be cut. Think about that. Happy to be released from the label that was supposed to be his platform. That right there tells you what the culture inside 1017 felt like from the artist side. But Gucci kept two names, Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano, both of them locked up, both of them incarcerated. He kept his two best performing artists, the ones who had actually moved units, built real fan bases, had real momentum before they got taken off the street. And on paper, that made sense as a business decision. Keep the assets, cut the liabilities. But here's where the real tea starts brewing. Now it's April 2026. Foogiano just got out. And what happened? Nothing. A photo surfaced on social media showing Foogiano smiling and flashing his iced out grill with the caption, "No more free food." That was it. That's the whole announcement. A producer's Instagram story. No Gucci. No 1017. No Atlantic Records promo push. No rollout meeting. No celebration. Let me put that in context for you, gang, because context is everything. Y'all remember when Finesse 2 Times came home? There was energy. People were excited. His people showed up. When Max B came home, they hit him with a grand. People were pulling up. There was love in the air. Even when regular everyday artists come home from a bid, their label is supposed to show face. A studio session, a dinner, something that says, "We still got you. The machine is ready to spin back up. Let's get to work." Foogiano came home to a producer's Instagram story. After 5 years, after being one of the 2 artists Gucci publicly said he was betting the label on. Instagram comments started immediately. His meeting finna be a Zoom call. Gucci doing no more meetings. It's not a good time to be signed to Gucci. The internet was clocking the absence before the dust even settled, and the streets clocked it too. And that brings us to the blog post, because here's what really happened. Word got back from a well-known blog that Foogiano reached out, and what he reportedly said was cold. According to the transcript, Foogiano said he will not be working with Gucci Mane. The reason? Gucci didn't send him $1 while he was in jail. Not a commissary drop, not a wire transfer, nothing. 5 years locked up as one of your last 2 remaining artists, and your label boss never sent bread. No cap, that goes a long way, fam. In the street code, and even in the rap industry code, if someone is down for you, literally locked up behind a situation that happened when they was active on your behalf, you show up for them. You make sure their people are good. You make sure they got something in there. That's not even above and beyond. That's the baseline. And Gucci did not meet that baseline. That's what Foogiano is saying. Here's where people need to start connecting the dots like a detective, because this is not a one-off situation. This is a pattern. Pooh Shiesty, same label, same era, same energy, same absence from Gucci during the bid. In April 2022, Pooh Shiesty was sentenced to 5 years in prison on firearm conspiracy charges, but was released in October 2025 due to good behavior. When Pooh came home, again, no Gucci rollout, no big celebration from 1017. Pooh came home and moved different. Immediately started putting feelers out for other label situations. Word spread that Yo Gotti and CMG had interest. Pooh wanted out. And then January 10th, 2026 happened. And this is where the situation goes from messy to historic. Federal prosecutors accuse Pooh Shiesty and 8 others of robbing 3 men at gunpoint and kidnapping them at a Dallas recording studio following a contract dispute involving Gucci Mane's record label. Let that sink in. This wasn't a random robbery. The alleged confrontation happened after the 3 victims flew to Dallas for what they thought was a business meeting at a music studio. Prosecutors said Pooh Shiesty arranged the meeting, allegedly to discuss the terms of his contract with 1017 Records. So Pooh set up what looked like a legitimate business meeting, got Gucci and his people on a plane to Dallas, and then, according to federal prosecutors, when they were in that room, Pooh Shiesty produced contract termination paperwork, told the label owner to sign, they argued, and Pooh Shiesty pulled what appeared to be an AK-style pistol and forced him to sign. He then took the man's wedding ring, watch, earrings, and cash. Gang, a wedding ring, his jewelry, his watch, and a forced contract signature at gunpoint. This is not a rap beef. This is federal kidnapping and robbery charges. If convicted, the suspects in the case could face a life sentence. Life in prison. But here's what y'all need to understand about why this allegedly happened. Big 30's attorney told media that while Pooh was in prison, Gucci made roughly $25 million on Pooh's music. $25 million. And Pooh allegedly sat in that cell for years without seeing proper compensation, without being released from the contract, without Gucci making things right. Whether or not the numbers are exactly right, that is the allegation hanging in the air. The lawyers are saying it, the streets believe it, and now we have a pattern. Pooh Shiesty came home from prison, felt abandoned by the label, went nuclear trying to get out. Foogiano comes home from prison, word immediately drops that he ain't rocking with Gucci, says no money was sent while he was locked up. This is not a coincidence, fam. This is a culture. Let me keep it 100 with y'all about where Gucci Mane sits right now, because some people are still trying to defend him like it's 2010. This ain't 2010. The landscape has changed, and Gucci's position in it has changed with it. Gucci Mane is one of the most important figures in Atlanta rap history. Full stop. Trap music pioneer. The man who helped put on Young Thug, Migos, Waka Flocka. The list goes on. His catalog is legendary. None of that is in dispute. But the current 1017 situation, that's a different conversation. Since rebranding as the new 1017 back in 2020, Gucci's camp has had a rough go at life. The deaths, the prison sentences, the roster getting gutted by circumstances that were partly out of his control and partly a reflection of what the culture inside the label looked like. And now, he dropped his whole roster down to 2 artists, both locked up at the time. Then one of them allegedly robs him at gunpoint, and now the other one comes home with no celebration, and word on the blogs is he's already distancing himself. What's left of 1017 right now? Technically Foogiano, if he's still on that contract. But with Pooh facing federal charges that could send him to prison for life, and Foogiano already reportedly not wanting to work with Gucci, that label, as a functioning artist development machine, is empty. And Gucci knows this. He has to know this. Earlier in 2024, he even announced the launch of another record label, So Icy Millionaires, posting a video showing off stacks of cash and saying, "That's what I'm willing to invest in my next superstar." He's already building the next thing. He sees the writing on the wall. 1017 as the world knew it is over. The question is, what happens to Foogiano in that equation? Alright fam, this is where we get into the real strategy, because this is where the story matters beyond the gossip. Foogiano is 32 years old. He has been locked up for 5 years. He missed the entire streaming era expansion. He missed collaborations, features, album cycles, industry shifts. He walked in when the world was a certain way, and he walked out into something completely different. That alone is a transition that most people can't even fully appreciate. But here's what Foogiano has going for him, and I need y'all to understand this clearly. He has leverage. Real leverage. First, the fan base. People have been screaming "Free Foo" for years. There is genuine appetite out there for his music. Artists who go away for a few years and come back strong can command real momentum if the rollout is right. Think about how people responded when certain artists got out of prison and immediately started moving. The hunger was already there. Foogiano has that if he plays it smart. Second, his sound. The host on this transcript said it right. Foogiano makes club music, he makes street music, he makes what the clubs and the streets need. That lane is always open. That sound does not expire. He just needs to update the references and get back in the booth. Third, his contract situation with Gucci. If there is truly beef and he wants out, the legal path is not through a Draco. It's through an auditor and an attorney. The move is to get a forensic accountant in there and audit every dollar that was generated from his music while he was incarcerated. Every stream, every sync license, every feature placement, every compilation sale. If Gucci was moving Foogiano's music and Fu wasn't seeing proper accounting, which is extremely common in label deals, especially with smaller imprints, then there may be grounds to exit the contract through breach. Labels violate their own contract terms constantly. Royalty underpayments, failure to deliver recording budgets, failure to release music on agreed timelines, any of these can be ammunition. The worst thing Foogiano could do right now is what Pooh Shiesty allegedly did, because that path leads to life in prison. And it also lets Gucci play the victim in the court of public opinion. The minute you go violent, you lose the narrative. The whole thing that could have been a legitimate legal and media battle becomes a federal case, and now Gucci is sympathetic and you're going to trial. Play the long game. Use the blogs. Use the culture. Let the story tell itself. And from where we're standing, the story is already telling itself. The no rollout, the no money in jail, the contrast between how Gucci talked about Foogiano publicly and how the situation actually played out, that's all evidence. You don't need to say a word. Just let the facts breathe and let your music do the talking. Zoom out for a second, gang, because this story is bigger than Gucci and Foogiano. This story is about what happens when the streets meet the corporate music business, and nobody explains the rules clearly enough before the contracts get signed. 1017 Records from 2007 to the present is actually one of the most fascinating case studies in hip-hop business history. In the original era, Gucci put on Waka Flocka, OJ Da Juiceman, Shawty Red, and helped establish Atlanta as the epicenter of trap music globally. That contribution is undeniable, but the business model was always murky. Artists came up under Gucci, blew up, and then had complicated exits, or never got out at all. The pattern of artists feeling like they weren't properly compensated or supported is not new to 1017. It predates the new 1017 era. But what happened in 2020 to 2026 with the new 1017 represents a concentrated version of everything that can go wrong when a label structure isn't built to support its artists through adversity. Both Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano are currently in prison serving respective sentences. Hot Boy West got sentenced to 15 years. Mac Critter got arrested for first-degree murder. Enchanting and Big Scar passed away. In a 4-year period, the entire roster either died, went to prison, or got dropped. What does that say about the environment? What does it say about the support system? Now we have Foogiano walking out of a 5-year bid with reportedly nothing from his label boss waiting for him. And Pooh Shiesty allegedly walked out of prison, felt so strangled by a contract he couldn't get out of through legitimate means that he allegedly put a rifle in Gucci's face. That is the consequence of what happens when people feel trapped, literally and figuratively, by a deal they can't escape. And if you are watching this as a young artist, as somebody who is thinking about signing a deal, let this be a lesson. Read every clause. Get a lawyer who works for you, not for the label. Get a manager who has dealt with these situations. Understand what recoupment means. Understand what happens to your music when you go away. Because record labels will keep running your catalog and generating money. And if you don't have the right contractual protections in place, you may come home to nothing. Or worse, come home and find out your situation made someone else rich while you were sitting in a cell. That's not just Foogiano's story. That's not just Pooh's story. That's the story of countless artists who never had platforms to tell it. Here's where we at right now in April 2026, no cap. Foogiano is out. As of his release, Foogiano himself had not posted publicly or issued any official statement. He's moving quiet, which is actually smart. Let the rumors fly, let the blogs talk, let the internet speculate, and watch how people react. His name is in every headline right now without him saying a single word. That's leverage. That's power, if you know how to use it. The situation at 1017 has grown more complicated since Gucci announced his roster trimming in October 2024. Earlier in April 2026, Pooh Shiesty was arrested in connection with an alleged armed robbery at a recording studio, with authorities claiming he and others attempted to force Gucci Mane to sign a contract release form at gunpoint. The incident set off a chain of public reactions, including a new Gucci Mane track that many interpreted as a direct reference to the alleged confrontation. Gucci released Crash Dummy, a track many listeners interpreted as referencing the allegations. In the song, he raps about a person who went out like a real crash dummy and who was still signed to me after everything. The lyrics drew swift reaction online, with critics questioning the implications. Even Uncle Murda weighed in, saying on his podcast that you can't sound like a civilian after being a gangster for 20-something years. That commentary cuts deep because it speaks to the fundamental tension at the core of this situation. Gucci Mane built his entire brand on street credibility, and now he's the victim in a federal kidnapping case involving his own artist. The culture does not know how to process that cleanly. Others pointed out the timing of Foogiano's release. Just this month, Pooh Shiesty was arrested in connection with the alleged kidnapping and robbery of Gucci Mane. So Foo comes home into a world where his label mate is potentially looking at life in prison, where his label boss just dropped a diss track about betrayal, and where the entire 1017 infrastructure has been dismantled over the past year. That is not a welcoming industry environment to step back into. That is a minefield. The question that the music world is asking right now is simple. What does Foogiano sound like in 2026? He left the industry in the middle of a promising run, with a label co-signed from one of Atlanta rap's most enduring figures and a fan base that has clearly not forgotten about him. And more importantly, who is he going to align with going forward? Is there a legitimate way out of the 1017 deal? Is there another label ready to come in? Is Yo Gotti watching same way he was reportedly watching Pooh Shiesty? These are the questions that are going to define the next chapter of this story. Real recognize real, and what I see right now is a legacy in the balance. Gucci Mane built something real. He put Atlanta on the map in ways that don't get enough credit. He changed the sound of American music. That part is facts, no debate. But 1017 Records in its current form is a cautionary tale. Not just about the streets, about trust. About what happens when an artist gives you their best years, goes away, and comes home to silence. Foogiano didn't get a rollout, didn't get $1 in the mail, came home to a producer's Instagram story and blog whispers. That's the legacy of what the new 1017 became. And now he's reportedly done with it. And can you blame him? The streets have a code. And that code says if somebody is down for you, literally down, locked away, you show up. You don't have to do grand gestures. You just have to show up. And according to everything coming out of the blogs, Gucci did not show up for Foogiano. Just like he allegedly didn't fully show up for Pooh. And look at how that ended. Foogiano is 32 years old with a second chance and a hungry fan base. He's got options, he's got time, he's got leverage. What he does next with all of that is going to be one of the most important moves in rap this year. Keep watching. The story is just getting started. Y'all let me know in the comments. If you're Foogiano, what's the move? Do you honor the contract and try to make it work inside 1017? Do you hire the lawyers, get the auditors in there, and fight your way out legally? Or do you say forget the whole industry for now and just drop music independently and let the culture decide? Drop your thoughts down below, like if you want the full Pooh Shiesty breakdown next, because that situation is a full episode on its own. And I'll catch y'all on the next one.